Mm. Okay, cool. All right. So, basically, like when it comes to like what it like, if you just want to like learn anything in general, basically like any sort of offensive concept, defensive concept, um, different moves on the offensive end, different schemes on the defensive end, all these sorts of things. There's like so much that you can find for free just on YouTube, and I basically like spend like hours. Like if I'm bored, like I'll just sit down and like just look on YouTube, and like if I'm like folding clothes or something like that, I'll just like put YouTube on in the background. Sometimes like I'll even like have it like playing in the car as like an audio book or something. Um, so I'll go over like some of those resources that I use just so you're like kind of aware of what's out there. Um, the first thing is Powlax. A lot of people know about this one, so you guys may have already seen his videos. Um, I like for the most part, I like these. He like
Let's face it, most of the insurance
let me
industry it can feel a bit
let me just
historic, impersonal,
take
and
audio
busy.
off.
What's going on, everybody?
He'll spend a lot of time like diagramming stuff. And like either he'll draw it on the whiteboard or use like a computer software to do it. So it kind of is a good way of like demonstrating different schemes. And then I won't keep playing the videos because it just keeps going to commercials, but he'll work in clips from college games too to kind of exemplify what he's talking about. So I think like this site is good for kind of like lacrosse 101 type stuff. Jamie Monroe is like a former college. He was a captain at Brown. And then he played pro a little bit, and then he's coached college for a long time, coached high school for a bit. And he's j basically like a lacrosse geek, just like really into video breakdown, really into like the X's and O's of lacrosse. But I personally like really love watching his videos. He has a whole site where you can like become a member. You can even like pay him to like break down film of you and help you become a better player that way. But personally, I think he has so much on YouTube that's for free. That like you mostly don't need to like pay for any of his stuff. Um, until you've like finished everything he has on here. Um, but his videos, I would say, like go a step above. It's like lacrosse, like 102. And the reason I say that is like he'll go over like schemes and stuff like that, but then he'll go over some of the intricacies of like single player offense, for example, like big little, like working the two-man game. Then he'll do breakdowns of like dodging and different types of dodges and hitches and hesitations. Um, he'll break down like both the field game and the box game and how they uh relate to each other. Another cool thing he does is he's like a really, really big advocate of doing like three by and kind of like small sided games as a way to like teaching you the skills that you need like when you have full pads and you're playing full field. So he has a whole what he calls like backyard curriculum, and he basically like goes over ways to like practice all of the stuff that you use in like a real-time game, how to practice that like by playing pickup and three by. And so that's why like I know you guys know we do like a lot of that stuff, or at least I try to work a lot of that into Invictus. He's kind of like a big inspiration for me on like really leaning into those small-sided games as a way to teach like individual specific skills that I want you guys like to learn to be able to bring into the full field game because really like if I could boil it down from my perspective, the underlying reason why the underlying reason why you would want to be a you would want to participate in those pickup games and small sided games is because you just get more touches as opposed to being on, in the f full field game, 10v10. It's hard to get like your hands on the ball and to work on your skills as much as you can when it's just like 3-on-3 and you're touching the ball like 10 times more and getting to work on all these specific game type skills. So anyways, that's Jamie Monroe, and he has his own, as you can see, YouTube site as well. Um, Another one is Lacrosse Film Room. This is kind of like an old school, like the OG lacrosse breakdown like channel, I would say. I don't think they post anything anymore. As you can see, like a lot of these videos are from like 7, 8 years ago. Um, and for a lot of these, there isn't any like audio to it. Um, Basically, like the lacrosse film room people will take like different situations, right? So, for example, like Pat Spencer, if you guys know him, he's playing on the Warriors right now. He used to be like the best college lacrosse player at the time, several years ago in college. Um, he like breaks down several matchups between Pat Spencer and like really good defensemen and just basically like breaks up those games into clips where just the two of them are going at it. Um, and like they do that for like so many other situations. They'll do it if they want to show like a specific man up, um, or if they want to show like a specific style of offense. They'll take games where that offensive is played, they'll slice it out and put it into a short film so that you can watch it yourself. And like I said, they don't do uh I think they may have some videos where they like voice over but a lot of it is just visual. They just do like their job is to break up the film so that you have one compact film showing whatever technique they're trying to get across. Um, but I love it. I still like go through their videos. I still haven't been through all of them. Um, and like watching like for example, I was just watching these films of Pat Spencer recently because he's just like a super super unique Dodger. Um, and so I'll get into this a little bit more later in terms of like how specifically I break film down. But like I love like pulling up films like this and I'll just watch like someone like Pat Spencer just how he dodges, right? Like how they work the two-man game. He does a lot of that, like dodging one-on-one from behind the cage or working like a big little from behind the cage. And here's a perfect example of that, right? And I'll just kind of like go back and forth, just keep rewinding it, watching it again, and just seeing how they execute this stuff. Um, See here, like he gets through, both defenders follow him, so he knows he's not going to continue through to attack the cage. He's going to get it back to his other guy. Okay, now that I think this is Romar Dennis. He's got the shorty now behind the cage. That's a great matchup to attack. Okay. Then he ends up getting a look. Okay, it doesn't go in, but that's just an example of like how I kind of watch that. Um, and then I'll pull up maybe one more example. Okay, so this is Pat Spencer again, right? So he gets the feed behind and he has his defender hung up. The goalie's going to come out and they're going to try and flush him out. So, um, I guess, I am kind of like mixing two things. I'm trying to show you guys resources, but I'm also gonna like start getting into like how I break things down. So if I'm watching a play like this, like I like to try and look at like everything that's going on from like the offensive end and the defensive end. So like first I'll kind of put myself in Pat's shoes, right? And the whole time I'm going to be like rewinding and fast forwarding, just rewinding, backing up and fast forwarding so that I can take in everything that's going on. Okay, so from his perspective, right, he's first thing when he gets this ball behind, okay, he has his defender hung up in front of the cage. He's looking to feed, right? So everyone up here, I like trying to see like how they're cutting. And this is basically like the drill. I think we did this drill last practice where I was like the feeder behind, okay? Once I'm behind and I have my defender hung up, everyone else is just doing the same drill that we did on Thursday. You guys are working together, trying to find cuts and find openings for me to feed you. Okay. So if they would have kept the pressure off, he could have just sat back there and tried to pick apart the defense by finding a nice feed. But in this case, the goalie's going to come out and they're going to try and pressure him because they don't want him sitting back there and just picking them apart. Um, so when I see that, now I'm kind of like putting myself in the defense's shoes, right? I like trying to see how they flush him out because a lot of defenses will do this differently, okay? In this case, Ohio State's going to pull the goalie behind, okay, and the other defender is going to pinch in from the other pipe, all right? So that's kind of like I don't want to say unique, like a lot of defenses do that, but not every defense is going to do that. Not every defense is going to pressure someone with the goalie. So it's cool to see how they execute that. And so, like, for example, me as a coach, I kind of look at this, and when I'm coaching a team, I have to think about, like, okay, if, not that this happens a lot at the high school level, but if we get hung up behind, like, what's our strategy going to be? Are we going to have, like, the goalie come out and flush them to force him to dodge and prevent him from sitting back there and being a feeder? Or are we going to take more of a passive approach and just keep the defender high above the above GLE? So those are things I'm thinking about. Okay. So let's take one more look at this. Goalie comes out. All right. Now I'm kind of putting myself back in Pat's shoes. Okay. Um, I think something that's cool to see here is as he's dodging, right? Okay, maybe not so much right here, but as he goes into this roll and then comes out right there, his eyes are up, right? So, and he's kind of squaring back up to his defender. So as he comes out of this roll, now all of a sudden, uh, his eyes are up, so he can be both a feeder and a dodger here. All right. Another roll, okay, and now he's kind of getting a step on his man. And um his defender is kind of like deep in a sense into the crease. And so by him making another cut around the crease in the opposite direction, he's kind of running this guy into the crease. Okay? So he's like setting him up to get tripped on the net. And like in order for him not to trip up on the net, he's got to run all the way around the net to try and keep up with them. Okay? Tries to sneak it in there, doesn't end up working. Um, and then, like I said, like I'll back it up again because I want to look at the defensive side too. So I'm looking at the pull. And this is something we talked about recently in practice, and that's like turning the guy at GLE, right? Um, and so it's cool to just kind of see like what the defense is trying to do here. So Pat's like trying to get top side above GLE. Okay. The defender, as best as he can, is trying to prevent him from getting that top side look. And then when I zoom out now, okay, away from this one-on-one matchup, I'm then looking at like the whole defensive scheme, okay? Because I like to try and see like how defenses set up their slide packages, okay? So in this situation, okay, goalie comes back into the cage. We got basically a one-on-one of the best attackman in the country, okay? Um, So I want to see how the rest of the defense is going to play this. Are they going to slide to him? Who are they setting up to slide to him? Okay. And it's in this case, like they have a guy on the crease, and the crease defender is basically going to show here and get ready to go. Um, and I think in my opinion, like he makes a good decision here. Pat, like the attackman, he didn't really have his guy beat that much. Doesn't really have a step on him. If he were to slide here right now, okay, Pat sees that coming by a mile, and he would be able to make an easy dump on the crease here. Okay, so I think they do a good job of kind of showing that he's ready to go, but not fully attacking. Okay, and then when we zoom out even more, okay, now I'm looking at the rest of the defense besides just the crease defender. All right, I'm looking at the second slide. So this is our hot slide. This is our two slide here, and I have two defenders helping in from the back side. All right. Um, One's basically got his stick on the crease man. So this is the stuff that we talk about in practice and why it's so important to watch film because it's very hard for a coach in practice to explain without a diagram like what needs to be done in 6v6 lacrosse. Okay? Like unless you're watching film and seeing how it happens in real time, it's really hard to comprehend the instructions. So in practice, when I say two slide, you need to be ready and you need to be ready to help out with the crease man. This is what I'm talking about, right? You're sloughed in, okay? So like this guy right here, I think he's 32. His man is number three, okay? Look at he's 5 yards, 5 to 6 yards off of his man here, okay? Because the most dangerous person on the field right here is this crease guy. If Pat were to feed to his man, he would be able to pop back out and put pressure on him. And even if he didn't get there in time, that's a 15-yard shot for I think that's Romar Dennis. That's like a 15-yard shot for him. So we're much happier letting that rip, okay? Giving the goalie a 15-yard shot where he can see it coming from, rather than if this guy slides and we don't have help here, okay? This guy on the crease is going to have a nice easy dish and dump within like 5 to 7 yards. That's much more dangerous. All right. Um, so I'll stop there talking about that, but that's just kind of how I break down some of those individual clips. Few more resources. One is Paul Rabel's stuff. He doesn't have a lot of these specific breakdowns. He may only have like 3 episodes, but I love these 3 episodes because this is, one of the best to ever play the game, and he's telling you what he's seeing from his mind. And you're watching him break down film. Okay. You're watching him rewind and fast forward and break down very specific techniques that, can help you with your game. And so, like, one of the ones I love to watch is his midfield passing video. Um, And then I think he has a dodging video as well. And just watching his footwork is, I mean, insane. So yeah, this is his dodging one.
What's up, everyone?
I'll show an example from here. Yeah, right. So this is amazing, okay? Because a lot of the stuff that I know about dodging, I've actually learned from him from watching this video. Okay. But this is just like a perfect example that I landed on here. I try to talk a lot about squaring up your defender, like no matter where they are. And he talks about that in this video. Um, so I don't know. I'll try and see if I can quickly here. Perfect. Okay. So he's coming in from the sideline here. All right. And his defender is playing him in a smart way. Like, this is how we try to teach you guys, right? Like, your butt is towards the middle of the field. You're trying to force someone down the alley. Okay. So he's picking Paul up almost by the sideline here, but making sure he flushes him down the center. Now, just because Paul wants to go this direction, okay, and this guy shutting off the middle of the field, he still squares him up. All right. So his hips, when he attacks this defender, still start towards the middle of the field. So this guy has to think twice. Technically, Paul could attack his top foot here and try to get over the top. Okay. So that just puts it in the mind of the defender that he still has to be wary of both directions. Paul has both options. Okay. And that just makes it easier for him when he's attacking him to get a step on him. All right. So look at what he does here, right? Okay. He starts going in the direction of the alley. Okay. And then he's going to attack this top foot and force the guy to flip his hips. Okay. And that makes him have to turn all the way around. All right. And then after he turns around, then he cuts back again, reattacks the top foot. Now this guy's turned around twice in one dodge, nearly impossible to keep up with him. So I'll let you, hear it from the legend himself. Um, but that's why I like these specific videos. Um, this I would say is probably a little bit less of a priority right now. I would like try to get through the other stuff before coming to this. Um, but like once you've kind of exhausted all the other YouTube videos, this would be one other thing I think you can kind of look into is coaching clinics. And there's a lot of them. I know University of Michigan has some good ones. They even talk about Mikey Schlosser in there, which is pretty cool. Um, Duke has a lot of good ones. And there might be like Jacksonville, some other colleges. They hold these like free coaching clinics, and then they'll post the videos on it. Um, it's obviously more geared towards coaches and helping coaches learn and how to be better coaches, but they like the things that they teach in there, like obviously like it's supposed to be passed on to coaches so that coaches can pass it on to you guys as players. So I still think there's immense value in seeing how these like really great college coaches think, um, and like the things that they value. And so like on top of just kind of like going over like how to build good leaders and all these other things, there's a lot of videos where they go into the specific types of man ups that they run, the clears and rides and offensive packages, defensive packages that they run. And so you can learn like not only like what it takes to be a good coach, good player, but then also a lot of good X's and O's in these videos too. Last but not least, because obviously I love face-offs. Face-off zone is king, for like film breakdowns for face-off guys. It's basically very similar to the Film Room YouTube channel because they basically just take like full game face-off matchups between two guys and just cut out all of the face-offs. And so like, there'll be like 30 face-offs in one game. They make a video just of like the 30 clips of each face-off. Again, there's no audio on this one, but you can just go through it yourself and just break down each face-off. So that's basically all of the resources that I go to like on a daily basis. Um, there's, probably more out there too. But I feel like this is a great place to start if you're just getting into it and you just like, you're not really sure where to begin. I think these are great resources to start with. Um, is there any questions that you guys have on any of that?
Not really. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think it's all sounding good. Thank you.
yeah. Cool. Um, so then real quick, uh, I guess this is kind of like the crux of the video. I'll just kind of like go over how I break down a game. And I won't like take too long and bore you to death, but just kind of give you an idea of how I go about doing it because I think all of the things that I just talked about are really good resources to like see specific techniques, see specific offensive schemes that you're trying to learn. Like if you come home for practice and you're really confused on hot slides and two slides and a man to man or like how to set up a zone, like these resources are really good to go and figure those things out. But like on a like daily basis throughout the year or not daily on a weekly basis throughout the year just watching games is like so invaluable. And so I have like ESPN Plus, so like I'm watching like pretty much like almost every like college game and PLL game, and then I'll watch like a lot of NLL games too. um and oftentimes like I watch them when they're already done, so they're already recorded, and I watch them like as if I'm trying to break it down. So like the way I watch like college game or pro game is like very similar to if I'm watching like my own high school team's game and I'm trying to like break that down. I'm trying to do the same thing with the pro and college game because I want to like understand what's going on as fully as possible. And so the same way that I was just kind of rewinding and forwarding, backing up and then like going, letting it play again. I'm doing the same thing when I'm watching a full game. So this honestly here, Virginia v. Towson game, I really just kind of like pulled this up at random. Just because I was watching another video recently of some like pretty insane short stick D middies from Towson. So I just pulled up this game at random and I'll just go through it just a little bit and just kind of show you like how I walk through a full game. So this is like basically right after the opening draw. Okay. Again, when I'm seeing this, okay, like I'm thinking back to like all the things that we talk about in practice. So what I've learned through watching videos, okay, is this pick here is what would be called a razor pick, okay? Because basically like you're setting this on like the far wing, okay? Far GLE on the outside. All right. This guy's going to run off his man, and then he's going to have two options, right? He can either go above the crease or he can go around the crease and basically use the goal as a second pick here. Okay. So I know a razor pick is coming here. Okay. Now I like want to see like all of the intricacies of how they go about setting it up. All right. So this guy's going to square up to his man, just like we saw Paul Rabel do. All right. A lot of times in practice, um, a lot of your teammates, right, like will set this pick up with their hips like facing away from the defender because they're afraid that this defender is going to check them. All right. But what that does is let everyone here, including the pick defender and their own defender, where they're going. Right. So if number 9 here has his hips facing down towards the end line, everyone knows he's going that direction. And if he wants to come back over the top, he's going to have to roll and completely change directions. All right. But by squaring him up, he's given himself both options here. So it's cool to see him do that. Second thing, he's being really patient, right? He's a lot of times when we do our two-man drills in practice, this guy here gets really nervous because this guy comes and sets pressure early on. And then this guy here is just like, oh shit, like, I gotta go. I gotta go. Okay. So before this guy's even really ready, this guy's already moving super fast and this guy's just sprinting trying to catch up to get in a good spot to pick, and then a lot of times ends up in a moving pick because he just can't get there in time. All right, but in this case here, this guy's being really patient. He's just bobbing up and down waiting for this guy to get set up. All right, another intricacy of this, he's coming from behind the defender. All right. Again, a lot of times when we do our two-man games, this guy will come like from the side here. He won't go from inside out. He'll come basically from this guy's right. Um, And then again, that's just telegraphing to everyone what's going on. This defender can see the pick coming, okay? And it makes it so easy for him to just work around the pick. It makes this completely ineffective. But by coming from behind him, now this guy has the option to either set it on the guy's left or right, okay? And this defender has no idea where he doesn't even know he's coming. Unless this guy has really good communication, he doesn't even know the pick's on its way necessarily. Okay? So I really like how he comes out from behind him here. Okay? One more thing. Uh Now he's pointing where he wants to set it. So a lot of times in our practices, like I've been asked, like how how do you communicate that with each other, like where you're gonna go? Well, this is it right here, guys. Like on the top stage in college, okay? There's a lot of nonverbal communication that's going on here. So this guy who's setting the pick, he's letting the Dodger know, hey, I'm approaching from this guy's right side, but I'm going to swing around to the left. All right. And what that allows the Dodger to do, okay, is now they can play kind of like uh they can play like a trick on the defense here, okay? Because he knows he's already pointing to him and telling him he's going to set this pick on the left side. So because of that, the Dodger says, okay, I'm going to then make the defender think that I'm going over the top so that he plays me heavier on top side. Okay? By playing heavier on the top side, it's going to be easier for me to get underneath. And that's what they do here. Okay? So he starts to bounce as if he's going top side, going top side. Now the picker, just like he said he was going to do, slips underneath. Okay? And he's able to run him right into the pick. And look now at like the micro level of how he's running off of this pick. All right. I try to hammer this home in practice. Like you, as the Dodger, are just as, if not more important in the pick game than the picker is. Okay. Because this guy can stand there all he wants. It doesn't matter if you don't do a good job of running your guy into the pick. All right. And they talk a lot about, all coaches talk a lot about trying to get shoulder to shoulder. If you're the Dodger, trying to run your shoulder off of the Dodger shoulder. And this is a great example of it, right? He's going to get in tight to his defender and he's going to, as close as he can, to his pick guy, he's going to get so that he can push his defender into him. All right. In this case, like, I wouldn't say, this is a 10 out of 10 pick situation where he runs them super hard into the pick and it just, blows up the defense. Like, obviously, that's not what happens here. Okay. But he does kind of get a step on him. Right. And the rest of the defense here has to respect him. Okay. And he's doing the underneath scenario that we talked about where now the defender has to worry about not only catching up with him, but he has to navigate the crease, okay, and the goal. And the whole time as he's running around, he's a feeder, right? He's in this like triple threat position. Um, I guess maybe double threat because he really can't shoot from behind the cage, right? But he's ready to dodge and he's ready to pass. And up top, same thing. I'm looking at what they're doing up top, like we talked about before. This is exactly the drill that we did on Thursday, okay? Only now there's a defender giving some pressure, but he's looking to feed. Everyone else up top, okay, is trying to work together to cut and find open passing lanes. And so they do a little scissors cut here. This is something we've worked on before as well. All right. Um, we have one guy who's going to cut through first towards the back cage. Sorry, the back pipe. Okay. He draws the attention of the defense, and then the second guy on offense is going to make an X with his pass. So this guy went here. This guy's coming over the top now. Okay. And going to the near pipe. All right. Nothing was open there. They didn't get like a slam dunk, but those are the things that I'm looking at. Okay. And then again, like I also like to know what's going on defense. And so like maybe I just looked at what the offense did. I kind of maybe I focused in on the Dodger. Now I want to back it up and take a little look at how they're getting ready to play this. Because what if he does get by this defender? Who's ready to pick him up then? How do they set that up? So same thing here. They have one pole that's kind of designated as the hot slide, right? So there's a guy on crease. The crease defender is the one that's going to slough off a little bit, and he's designating himself as the hot slide. As you can see, his head's on a swivel. He's still kind of focusing on where his guy is, but he's clearly ready to go. Okay, and the other defenders are in helping navigate the scissor cut. All right, so that if this guy had to go, these two guys doing the scissor cut, they're picked up. All right. As he goes around the crease, he's like, okay, like I have a second to get my bearings back. He's not attacking the cage at the moment. So then he kind of, he's slingshotting in, slingshotting out. So he's going back towards his defender a little bit. But he's got his head on a swivel so that if now he gets a step on his man coming on the far side of the crease, he's also ready to go in that situation. Okay, and then we can watch them recover here, which is pretty cool. So he's now going to bump back to his man, and he bumps the guy who was sloughed in helping back up top. Now we're all marked up again. Okay. Um, I think I'll stop there. Been talking for a while, and I feel like you guys probably get the point. Um, so I'm sorry if I, am kind of and also stop sharing. Sorry if I'm yammering on. I hope that was helpful though, and just kind of see that. Because I guess, it's definitely not rocket science, but like I think that like breaking down film is definitely like a little bit more than just like letting the tape play and just watching a game. Um, I think if you can train yourself to like work from the inside out kind of like zoning in on like a one-on-one matchup and then rewinding and backing up and then seeing like the 6v6 part of it and how the whole offensive scheme goes and then rewinding again and then looking at the defensive side of it. It just makes you so much of a smarter player because like if you're an attackman, you need to know not just what the attackman's doing when he's handling the ball. You need to see how the rest of the offense is working. And then you also need to understand the defense inside and out because if I'm playing on offense, like I am so much more of a threat if I know how the defense is thinking and how they're setting up and how they're going to play off of what I'm doing. That's how you pick them apart and how you see the other openings, how you see those assists on the backside that you wouldn't see if you didn't break down film that way. Um, and I think the last thing I would say is there is also so much value in just picking a like one player. And I think I kind of got this from Paul Rabel. I'm pretty sure he talked about it in one of his video breakdowns, but just picking a specific player and just watching them the whole game because like you can put yourself in their shoes and compare how their decisions are like to what decisions you would make in that situation. So like you're imagining that you're on that field in their spot and seeing how they react and comparing that to how you would react if you were on the field. There's a lot to be gained from that. And again, like if you're an attackman, watching how, an attackman you really like, watching how they're playing throughout the whole game, whether they have the ball in their hands or if they're playing off ball, how they ride, all these sorts of things, how they play on the clear. Um, Seeing that can like really help you understand like how this specific player takes in all aspects of the game, and that like makes you better as well.